Mike Tomlin ripped Diontae Johnson. He continued his praise of Lamar Jackson, and he gave his 2 cents on the struggles of the Baltimore Ravens defense. All that and a lot more coming up next here on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for being here on its midweek edition of the show, making Locked On Ravens both a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. Free and available for you, all podcasting platforms. That includes in video form on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe to the channel. Also in audio form, where you can follow along and subscribe over there. We bring you 5 days a week of daily Ravens coverage, plus more. We have bonus episodes to go live after every single Ravens game, and a lot more for you. Today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Man, what a crazy night it was 2 nights ago, getting the show out for Tuesday, because it was wild what ended up happening. There was this whole internet outage type deal and all across the East Coast, and then the thing I used for thumbnails went down, but we got the show out by 6 a.m. Very proud of that, all things considered there. And we're back here again today talking more Ravens football and really what Mike Tomlin had to say. Mike Tomlin has been given a lot of praise to Lamar Jackson, right? We talked about that on Monday. That continued on Tuesday, but he also just absolutely ripped Diontae Johnson. Just crazy stuff. And, you know, it wasn't like he went out there and said, oh, Diontae's terrible, right? But he, honestly, I think for a lot of people, you could argue you just could have done that based off of his actual comments. So we'll talk about that as well. And then what happened to his comments on the Ravens defense, some other legendary quarterbacks praised Lamar Jackson, and Mike Tomlin also talked about the rivalry too. So we'll hear John Harbaugh. He's going to speak today, right? He usually speaks on Wednesday, so I'd assume he speaks today unless something crazy happens. And anything that he says, we'll talk about on tomorrow's show. But let's talk about Mike Tomlin and his comment on Diontae Johnson. That was the big story yesterday, and it got national attention because of just how kind of, I don't want to say shocking. It wasn't necessarily a shocking comment, and the principle of it was not necessarily untrue, but I just think the way that it was delivered maybe threw some people off guard. It was like, whoa, hold on. So Mike Tomlin was asked about facing Diontae Johnson, and he said he's not on a lot of their video. They've got more significant pieces with larger roles that occupy my attention. So essentially saying, are we worrying about him right now at this point in the week? They have other pieces that are occupying my attention. Is essentially what Mike Tomlin is saying there. Is he wrong? I mean, not really. Diontae hasn't really had a huge role for the Ravens so far through 2 games, and that's to be expected. Right? I don't think anybody expected Diontae to come in here and just take over a wide receiver 1 job from Zay Flowers or wide receiver 2 from Rashad Bateman. I know I certainly didn't, and I've been kind of saying as such on this show. But it's kind of crazy because the response to the comment was, dang, like that's a little cold. And people are saying Mike Tomlin knows how to, whether it's talking trash or throwing shade, he knows how to do it in a business casual way where he makes it sound professional and, you know, goes in on guys. And a lot of coaches know how to do that, right? Like I think a lot of coaches have mastered that art of, you know, kind of taking the trash talk and making it like a business thing. I think Mike is one of the best at doing that. Like I think Mike Tomlin's really good at it. There are a couple of others that can do it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who are a couple of others. I can't think of one, but Mike Tomlin is really good at that. Now, he's not going to admit that this was trash talk, obviously, but a lot of people certainly took it that way. But I think a lot of people honestly were like, man, Mike Tomlin was one of the funniest coaches in the league, like this, that, and the other. And Diontae Johnson actually talked to the media yesterday, and he wasn't asked about the Mike Tomlin comments, but was very complimentary, actually, of the Steelers and everything that, you know, they have going on. Obviously, for those who don't know, the reason Mike Tomlin was asked about Diontae, as I mentioned, was he was a former Pittsburgh Steeler just last season. just last season, was traded to Carolina and obviously didn't work out there, was traded to the Ravens. And for Diontae, he talked about how, Pittsburgh is, it's the first time he's been in the away locker room and still talks to his former teammates all the time and this, that, and the other there, which I saw people talk about, why are you being so nice? Why are you being so nice? I don't have really a problem with him I don't have a problem with him saying he talks to his teammates all the time or, says, this is the first time I'm going to be in the away locker room. Like those are all facts. And, I get it's rivalry week and you don't really want to say anything positive about the Steelers. I know I certainly don't. Right. But I think it's interesting because for Diontae, now the question, because everybody was talking about, now John Harbaugh is gonna fall for the bait, and Mike Tomlin said this about Diontae. Is Mike Tomlin back to playing his old mind trick games? Is he trying to coax John Harbaugh into playing Diontae Johnson and maybe taking away snaps from guys or taking away opportunities from guys? That was the big conversation point because we heard the comments from Mike Tomlin on Sunday after the game about Lamar Jackson, Mr. Jackson, as Mike Tomlin called him. And everybody was like, this is just to get in the Ravens' head and this, that, and the other. I mean, I think on the same coin where I thought that Mike Tomlin was genuinely praising Lamar Jackson here, if there was a mind trick thing, it would not have been Sunday. It would have been this, right? I think this would have been the mind trick thing of, we don't really have to worry about him right now. He's not really on our radar. They have other pieces. But again, you do have to worry. Mike Tomlin was not wrong. Is he wrong? I mean, you got to worry about Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. I mean, in the run game, you have to worry about Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, even Keaton Mitchell, right? I mean, Nelson Aguilar and Tylan Wallace, who had a great game against Cincy, Isaiah Likely, if he's able to return. So those are all guys you have to worry about. And so Diontae's still getting up to speed. And Diontae Johnson talked about his role in the offense, talked about how he's settling in and it's about terminology, this, that, and the other. I mean, it takes a while. So for guys who have been there and who right now are better players than Diontae, a.k.a. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, I mean, you have those guys you do have to worry about, but I'm not going to sit there if I'm Mike Tomlin and just completely write him off. I'm personally not doing that because now people are saying, all right, well, now I'm taking Diontae Johnson, going on FanDuel, taking that anytime touchdown, right? That's what people are talking about. Revenge game for Diontae Johnson returning to Pittsburgh. But people were just kind of like, dang, Mike Tomlin going in on Diontae Johnson. And everyone's like, it must really not have worked out there. And there were obviously some issues with effort and, drama with Diontae in Pittsburgh. And we heard some of that in Carolina and, in Baltimore, we have that tweet, which no one really knows what that was about. Could be football related, could be completely unrelated to, we don't know. So I'm not going to try to speculate on that. We talked about it a little bit last week, but again, we'll see. We'll see maybe what the body language is if they meet at pregame or postgame for a handshake or whatnot. I wouldn't assume there's bad blood there, but the comment from Mike Tomlin was like, whoa, hold on a second now. Hold on. What is going on with this? So definitely that was one of the big stories of the day yesterday in the NFL was Mike Tomlin just ripping on Diontae Johnson. And it would have been interesting if Diontae was asked about Mike Tomlin's comments, what he would have said, but more so just talked about his time in Pittsburgh, going back and being a part of the rivalry from the other side of things, which there are a lot of guys flip-flopping the rivalry, right? Arthur Millette talked about how he's not a Raven yet. The big thing is you have to beat the Steelers to become a Raven, and the Ravens are 1-7 in their last 8 games against the Steelers. It's been the team that's given Lamar the most trouble over the course of his career, and that's just the fact of it, right? That's what it is. So a lot to look forward to for both these teams on Sunday. We're coming up in the second part of the show. Mike Tomlin continued his praising ways on Lamar Jackson. We'll talk about the comments he had and analyze what other quarterbacks were saying about Lamar as well, because it was just praise Lamar day on Tuesday. So we should have stayed tuned. A lot to get to on the show. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats for live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. We'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And the show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. I love going on Prize Picks, seeing everything they have to offer over there. They have a ton. You can now win up to 100 times money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds to turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. So for this Ravens and Steelers game, maybe you like Lamar Jackson more on his passing yards, or Russell Wilson more on his passing yards. Those seem like pretty good options over on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDON to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDON to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We're back for our second segment. Locked On Ravens. Kevin Oestreicher still here with you on this Wednesday edition of the show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in today, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day, your first listen each and every single day. Just hit 9,000 subscribers on YouTube, heading towards 10,000. Be sure to like and subscribe in video form if you want to be a part of that journey, and also in audio form. If you want to be a part of the audio form journey, be sure to hit that follow, subscribe button. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Same show, by the way, so you're not missing out whether you want to watch or listen. You can even flip-flop between the two if you want to. But let's talk about what Mike Tomlin and legendary quarterbacks had to say about Lamar Jackson. As I mentioned before the break in the first part of the show, it was certainly Praise Lamar Jackson Day on Tuesday, although a lot of days are Praise Lamar Jackson days, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. But let's start with the Mike Tomlin comment, and then we will move down the list. So Mike Tomlin, we obviously know he said in the comparisons to Jaden Daniels, which shouldn't be happening in the first place, that it's a 2-time MVP. You have to, be careful when comparing guys to Lamar. Well, he was asked about Lamar again and said, quote, "He's a challenge in all circumstances. I just respect what he's capable of doing. I've seen continual evolution in him. There's always a part of his game is moving forward. I think it speaks to not only his talent, but his approach to business and their approach to business," meaning the Ravens, and continue to talk about how, they're always moving forward. Lamar's moving forward. And again, just very complimentary of him. Now, a lot of people thought that there was some combination with Mike Tomlin's comments on Sunday about, is it gaining a competitive advantage on Lamar? Is this like mind tricks or sweet talking Lamar for the advantage? I do, again, think this is genuine respect for Lamar, right? I do. I understand if people do believe that there is some level of gamesmanship here. And I think the gamesmanship, if I had to pick out, where would the gamesmanship be? It's probably in the, you don't want to poke the bear, right? You do not, in any circumstance, want to poke a Lamar Jackson bear. We saw what happened we've seen it multiple times, honestly, when people have poked Lamar Jackson and said, hey, you're not going to do anything, or, this, that, and the other. And he's proven people wrong time and time and time and time again. So, look, I'm sure Mike Tomlin is saying all the right stuff to avoid that. But I also, I'm not going to sell, Mike Tomlin short here and say that he's just doing it for that. I do genuinely think he respects Lamar and believes these things. And that, to me, it's real. It is. And I think when we see Lamar and the evolution of him coming out of Louisville, there was a lot of work, but that's for most rookie quarterbacks. In fact, that's for all rookie quarterbacks. Lamar was not exclusive in that, but that's how he was treated, right? Lamar was treated coming out of college as if there's never been a player who needed to evolve. Every quarterback needs to evolve coming out of college. Every quarterback needs work. Every quarterback needs to refine different parts of their game. That's just what it is. Every young rookie quarterback needs that. So for Lamar, he's responded to that negativity and the doubt with eloquence and grace and just kind of put his head down and went to work. And here we are, a player that is on track to win his third MVP. If he wins a Super Bowl, he'll be in, top 10, maybe top 5 conversations of all time. And that's crazy because Lamar Jackson is, late 20s now, or going to be, right? January is his birthday. So coming up, he's going to be a year older and in a couple of months here. Lamar has broken countless. I literally probably could not count them even if I had 10 hands. Countless NFL records, countless Ravens records. And he is getting the respect of a lot of players, a lot of coaches, but the media will sit there and tell you that, oh, Lamar can't throw, or Lamar's this, or Lamar's that. Well, personally, I'm going to go with the opinion of his peers, right? I'm going to go with the people that have been on Lamar's level, maybe not in terms of like actual play. Now we're going to talk about a couple of guys who are in legendary quarterback conversations, including who many consider the GOAT himself. But, it's even other players too. Like, the top 100 segments, you got 20, 30 players in a row just continually praising him and coaches going to bat, Ravens' biggest rival, right? Like, it's just gushing over him. I mean, that is the type of player Lamar is, and that's who he has evolved into. Because I say it all the time, we were sitting here a year ago as Lamar was on his dominant 2023 run, and we were like, man, this is the greatest we've ever seen Lamar. When is Lamar going to do this? We've seen this evolution. Is he going to continue? Like, when are we going to see a better version of Lamar than this? I think everybody expected it, right? But literally the next season to evolve as much as he did, I mean, I can't say enough about Lamar Jackson, and a lot of his peers can't. So again, I'm going to trust the coaches and the players over the media in that regard. But then you have a couple of legendary quarterbacks also talking about Lamar. We'll start with what Aaron Rodgers had to say. He was talking about young quarterbacks and evolution and timelines and whatnot. And he brought up Lamar as a reference to make his point. He said, quote, "It's so impressive for a guy like Lamar to win multiple MVPs because you've had years to game plan this guy. There was a time where everyone was zero blitzing Lamar. They got through that stretch." Remember that Miami game on Thursday night? When was that? 2021? I honestly, I try to forget it because it was just so abysmal. But that was Miami just continually blitzing Lamar, and that was the weakness, right? That was the thing of like, okay, Lamar's super hard to stop, but if you effectively blitz, there's a shot that you can stop him. And Miami did it to perfection in that Thursday night game, and that was probably one of the worst games we've seen from the Ravens in the last couple of seasons. Well, now when you try to blitz Lamar Jackson, again, he has evolved, and now it's almost impossible to do it because of the way that he has grown. And that's something that obviously he and the team worked on to combat. They have. And now in your pick your poison type of offense that the Ravens have, one of the things defenses have to pick is how you rush Lamar. Because if you rush 4 and you can't get home on Lamar, I mean, that's pretty much game over for you because he'll just slice and dice it from the pocket or, he'll at the very least escape, roll out, and make something happen. If you blitz Lamar and you don't do it effectively, he has evolved in the point where he's now, instead of just throwing it to Mark Andrews or Zay Flowers or back in the day Marquise Brown, well, now he's spreading the ball around. He'll just get the ball out quickly. He'll get the check down option. That's something we were talking about for Lamar for years here, was just take what's there, take what the defense gives you. Lamar did it at times, but didn't do it at other times. We see Lamar consistently making the right decision now. Decision-making was a thing for him that he needed to improve on over the first couple of years of his career. And he did that. And now we are here. And he is such a low mistake player. And he plays with such purpose on every single play. But one of the players, or at least former players, that has continually been in Lamar Jackson's corner is Tom Brady. Obviously, many refer to him as the GOAT himself. And it's really cool to see the respect and honestly the love that both guys have for each other, Lamar and Tom Brady. I mean, to me, it's just super, super cool to see. And Tom Brady gave out his awards for the week for Fox. And when talking about Lamar, he got one of the 3 stars and said, quote, "How do you stop this guy and how do you stop this Ravens high-powered offense? He has delivered yet another MVP-type performance." And then went into how, he led the Ravens on the comeback and had the perfect passer rating in the 4th, I believe it was, threw for around 200 to 290 yards, no interceptions, and just continued to show his respect, said he was on fire in the fourth quarter, which was absolutely true. Yep, 3 touchdowns and a perfect pass rating in the fourth quarter. It is really cool to see Tom Brady continue to give this respect, because it's not like a one-off thing, right? Obviously, back when Brady, I think it was when he retired, right? When he posted the photo of him and Lamar with the "You're next" on it. Like, when Tom Brady speaks, you listen, right? Obviously, Tom Brady gave the Ravens fits over the years. I hated when Tom Brady played the Ravens, right? There was a lot of just, man, I don't like Tom Brady doing this. I don't like Tom Brady doing that. But obviously, you have to respect greatness when it's in front of you. And I certainly respect Tom Brady. But hey, you know what? I certainly respect Lamar Jackson too, because that's another instance of greatness. So 2 great quarterbacks who have a lot of mutual respect for each other. And I thought that was a very fitting way to end Praise Lamar Jackson Day on Tuesday. So maybe we'll just make it a national holiday, I guess, right? Praise Lamar Jackson Day, November 12th, every single year. So maybe, if I remember, we'll revisit this in a year on November 12th, 2025, and we'll talk about if anybody praised Lamar Jackson on that day. But coming up in the final part of the show, Mike Tomlin gave his 2 cents on the Baltimore Ravens defense just one day after John Harbaugh went in on them for multiple different reasons. So be sure to stay tuned for that. We have a lot to get to on this episode of Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Football GM. Hey, Ravens fans, remember our great partner, Ultimate Pro Football GM? Well, they're back and they've added an amazing new game mode I need to tell you about. The game that has you step into the shoes of a football franchise GM and lead it to glory now has a new head coach career mode. So on top of getting to build your dynasty by drafting players, signing free agents, and hiring coaching staff, now you also get to call offensive plays during the games as well. Additionally, it'll dig the new tools you can work with, such as individual training camps and upgraded negotiation system. So this fun and realistic game just got a lot better. If you already have it installed, be sure to do an update so you can try out the new mode. If you don't have it yet, download it right now. It's a must-have for all football fans. I love it, and I know you will too. Ultimate Pro Football GM is completely free and has no ads and 100% playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. And here's a special offer for Locked On fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your franchise. Make sure to get it, as this perk will jumpstart your play and give you the advantage you'll want in creating a dynasty. Download the games, visit ultimate-gm.com, ultimate-gm.com, or look it up on the app stores. Ultimate Pro Football GM, start your dynasty today. We are back, our final segment, Locked On Ravens. Kevin Ostrager here with you on this Wednesday edition of the show. Appreciate everybody again for being here today. If you're an everydayer, thank you so much for your consistent support each and every single day. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. Hopefully you stay a while. And if you're somewhere in the middle, welcome back to the show. 5 days a week plus more, obviously, of daily Ravens coverage wherever you decide to watch or listen, video form and audio form. Now, back to Mike Tomlin. Big Mike Tomlin week so far this week. You know, he's talked both after the game on Sunday and on Tuesday, and we'll hear from John Harbaugh, obviously, I think today, right? He always speaks on Wednesdays ahead of Sunday games, but Mike Tomlin talked about that Ravens defense. Yesterday, we talked with former Ravens receiver Qadry Ismail on John Harbaugh's comments on that defense. He went in on them, said, you know, this is unacceptable. So if you haven't seen that episode, be sure to check that out, because we talk a lot more in depth about that. Mike Tomlin, though, gave his 2 cents on the Ravens defense and the reason why, you know, things are happening with them, what he thinks of their play this season. And Mike Tomlin was complimentary of the Ravens defense. And he said, quote, "When I turn the tape on, I don't see negligence. I see a group that's definitely up on people, and a lot of people are getting out of their personalities and are simply somewhat one-dimensional. That's probably the most significant reason why they're 32nd in the league." And then went on to talk about how, you know, a bunch of different players. You mentioned Roquan Smith and a bunch of guys. So more praise than anything else. But he's talked about situationally also why the Ravens defense is 32nd, being like, all right, well, in the circumstances they're in a lot of high-scoring games, and, you know, sometimes they will, and this is me speaking here, sometimes they will be in situations where, oh, well, they're up by what? 20, 25 points late in games. And of course, as a team, an opposing team, you're not going to run the ball on those plays. You're going to throw it. But obviously, you know, we've been watching the games here. We understand that there is a lot that needs to be fixed on the back end. John Harbaugh said as such. And I think Mike Tomlin understands that while there certainly is talent in that secondary, they have not played the Ravens way, up to the Ravens standard. And this is one of the worst, if not the worst, pass defenses this team has ever had. For a team that continually prides himself on defense, it's not been the year that they've wanted there. And it also factors in, I think, the pass rush, right? Pass rush wise, I thought they looked a lot better against the Bengals on Thursday night. Can they continue that against a Steelers team that they need to be able to pressure Russell Wilson in order to have the best chance to win? But at the end of the day, with this passing defense, it's tough to kind of envision Baltimore hosting the Lombardi the way that they're playing right now. Now, the good news is that the Ravens don't have to be a top 10 pass defense to win a Super Bowl. They don't even have to be an average pass defense to win the Super Bowl. If they just give me top 20, anywhere in that 20 to 25 range, right? Anywhere in that range. Honestly, like if we're talking 20, I'm feeling pretty good. But you can't be like 32, 31, 30 in almost every single category pass defense-wise. I mean, that's bad. And it leaves little to no room for error for the offense and the run defense, honestly. Because if you're just getting gashed the way that they have, and it's not like it's only been the stars who are doing it, right? Obviously, the stars have had their way in a lot of different instances. Not every game, but most. Then you have guys like Jameis Winston and Bo Nix doing that to you and having all this time to throw and gashing you up. That can't happen. It just can't. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to have a better pass defense than that. So I think the Ravens understand that, right? And John Harbaugh certainly said a lot of that over the course of his press conference on Monday. But it's tough because now you have rejuvenated Russell Wilson over there in Pittsburgh. George Pickens obviously is their guy, but we've talked about, teams and their guys over the course of the season. Go stop Jamar Chase. He's the guy. Go focus attention on him. Well, guess what? Jamar goes for 260 plus in the second game, went off in the first game too. Okay, Devontae Adams, he's the guy you got to check. Well, they allow him to essentially beat the Ravens there. It's that type of thing. So you have George Pickens, you have a bunch of other weapons. You have to be able to defend teams' top players. You have to. And if you don't, you're probably not in for a good time. But this Ravens offense is so historic. They're masking a lot of those issues, but the pass defense has been so bad, you can't really mask all of the issues because it's just there's too much. So it goes hand in hand with each other. A lot of things go hand in hand with each other here. And I'm just hoping that this Ravens team can get back on track in their secondary, right? The pass rush, I thought, got back on track. Now, can they continue that? And can the pass defense, the secondary, follow suit? So a lot of big storylines for Ravens and Steelers, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of them to talk about over the course of the rest of the week. That's all I have for you here today on Locked On Ravens. Appreciate everybody for tuning into the show today. Again, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button in video form and follow along and subscribe in audio form. Same show, both audio and video. Tell a friend, tell a family member we're here for them 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage. Coming up tomorrow, continue with Ravens and Steelers week. Big rivalry week for both teams, so be sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On Ravens.